When Dylan Gabriel decided, for whatever reason, to go rogue and take a shot at Shadur Sanders during a national broadcast, he didn't just make a mistake. He lit a match in a room full of gasoline. And guess what? Now he's the one standing in the smoke. Let's rewind the tape. There he was, post-game interview, suited up, smiling, maybe feeling a little too confident after a decent win. The reporter tosses a softball question, something about upcoming matchups or his own progress. And instead of giving the classic one game at a time answer, he smirks and drops a veiled diss on Shadur Sanders. The tone? Smug. The delivery? Aimed. The subtext? Obvious.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Now, maybe he thought he was being clever. Maybe he thought the cameras wouldn't catch the weight of it. Maybe he forgot that in 2025, every word you say is clipped, posted, dissected, memed, and looped by thousands of fans in real time. Big mistake. Because within minutes, social media turned into a gladiator pit. Clips of the interview were everywhere. Fans were captioning it. Analysts were reacting. Former players were weighing in. Even verified burner accounts got involved. The general consensus? What is Gabriel doing? Not only did he break the unspoken code of respect among quarterbacks, he picked the absolute worst target in college football to try and take down. Shadur Sanders isn't just a talented QB. He's a brand. He's box office. The man is Nike campaigns, sold-out stadiums, custom cleats, and interviews with Good Morning America before his third start. He's one of the few college athletes whose presence draws more viewers than the actual game sometimes. So for Gabriel to come for that guy? Delusional. And the fallout? It was immediate and brutal. Not only did fans start roasting him online, but his own credibility took a nosedive. Coaches were forced to address it. PR reps scrambled. And NFL scouts? Oh, you better believe they were taking notes. Because if there's one thing general managers hate more than fumbles, it's distractions. And this? This was a masterclass in creating one for no reason. Meanwhile, what did Shadur do? Absolutely nothing. Not a tweet. Not a post. Not a petty quote. He let the silence speak volumes. And in doing so, he won the entire exchange without ever stepping into the ring. See, that's the difference between a quarterback who understands a game and one who only plays football. Shadur knows that in today's college football landscape, narrative is everything. It's not just about stats. It's about perception, how you carry yourself, how you respond when challenged, what kind of leader you appear to be when things get messy. And Gabriel? He failed that test with flying colors. Now, let's look at the long-term consequences of this car crash. Gabriel has talent. That much is clear. He can make throws. He's put up numbers. But ask yourself this. When the story of his season is told, will it be about touchdowns? Or will it be about that interview? Because right now, the one thing people remember isn't the game he won. It's the bridge he burned. It's the backlash he unleashed. It's the exact moment when a promising athlete became a punchline. You know it's bad when your facial expression becomes a meme template. When your quotes are used in TikTok voiceovers. When fans start saying pulling a Gabriel to mean doing something incredibly dumb at the worst possible time. That's legacy damage. And it's very hard to undo. Meanwhile, Shadur? Still rising. Still calm. Still pulling in nil deals like is already a top 10 NFL pick. Still throwing dimes. Still selling out stadiums. He didn't have to clap back. Because when you've got the receipts on the field, the scoreboard does the talking. Now, let's talk about why this all matters beyond just two players. Because this wasn't just trash talk gone wrong. This was a case study in athlete media literacy, or the lack thereof. In today's era of hypervisibility, college athletes aren't just players. They're personalities. They're brands. They're digital footprints with cleats. And in that world, how you speak matters as much as how you play. Gabriel's downfall didn't come from a busted play. It came from a busted sense of timing, tone, and emotional intelligence. If he had stayed composed, this wouldn't even be a story. But he didn't. And now, he's learning the hard way that the mic is just as dangerous as the blitz. And let's not ignore the broader power dynamic at play. Because what this really exposed is the way college football revolves around its stars, not its systems. Shedeur isn't just a quarterback. He's a center of gravity. The kind of athlete who shifts a program's revenue, media focus, and recruiting prospects just by existing. Gabriel? Not that guy. So when he swung up, trying to punch above his weight class, he triggered a full-blown media spectacle that he was never equipped to win. This wasn't David versus Goliath. This was an unforced error in front of 10 million people. And it reinforced something that's becoming more and more obvious. You don't antagonize the king if you're not ready to take the throne. The lesson here isn't just for quarterbacks. It's for every athlete watching from the sidelines. Respect matters. Humility matters. Timing matters. The mic is hot. The cameras are rolling. The internet never forgets. And your words? They might just follow you longer than your highlight reel. Gabriel learned that the hard way. Shedeur didn't have to say a thing. He let the game and the culture handle it. So now we ask, where does this leave both players? For Gabriel, it's damage control season. A sincere apology might help. A few clean games with humble post-game interviews could start to shift the tide. But the stain is there. The memes are there. The legacy, for now, has a dent. As for Shedeur, this incident only elevated him further. He didn't just win the exchange. He gained more fans, more clout, and even more narrative control. His silence said, I don't engage with nonsense. I win games. And that's the kind of response scouts love to see. Not petty, not reactive, just unbothered. Because in football, as in life, the ones who stay calm while everyone else loses their heads, they lead. So now it's your turn. What would you have done in Gabriel's shoes? Was it just a slip-up or a full-blown self-sabotage? And should Sanders ever respond, or keep playing the long game? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's hear it. And if you want more jaw-dropping sports drama, reputation meltdowns, and media disasters in real time, hit that subscribe. Because in this league, words are weapons, and not everyone knows how to wield them. Let's zoom in on the psychology here for a second. When athletes trash talk, it's usually calculated. It's mind games, hype building, marketing. And sometimes when it lands right, when it's clever or earned or backed by dominance, it becomes iconic. Think Richard Sherman versus Michael Crabtree. Think Reggie Miller jawing at Spike Lee. That's elite-level psychological warfare. But when trash talk is rooted in insecurity, when it punches up without credentials to back it, when it's aimed at a guy whose stock is 10 times higher and whose silence could end you, that's not mind games. That's a mistake. A fatal one. Because let's face it, in the court of public opinion, Shedeur Sanders is untouchable right now. He's got the stat sheet, the swagger, the spotlight. And he's earned all of it. From his performance at Colorado to the media frenzy surrounding his every move, this is a guy who doesn't just play football. He moves the culture. So when Gabriel made that comment, something to the effect of Sanders wouldn't last a quarter against my defense, or whatever his version of a zinger was, it wasn't received as confidence. It came off as desperation. A guy grasping at relevance by poking a hornet's nest. And predictably, he got stung. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Reddit, everyone had something to say. Edits started flying. Side-by-sides comparing stats. Reaction videos from former players. Even Gabriel's teammates were reportedly caught off guard, with some internally distancing themselves from the comment. Because here's the real tea. You don't speak for your whole locker room when you take shots at a guy like Shedeur. You risk alienating your own teammates, your coaching staff, your fans. And you definitely risk making your next game a circus. Oh, and guess who's now projected to meet each other in a late-season showdown? Yep. Gabriel just booked a main event he might not survive. Let's talk stakes. Thanks to his own words, Gabriel has ensured that every snap he takes from here on out is under a microscope. He's not just playing to win games. He's playing to rebuild his credibility. Every missed throw? Screenshot. Every sack? Memed. Every loss? Maybe he should have focused on his own game. And meanwhile, Shadur doesn't even have to say a word. Every time he throws a touchdown, fans will chant louder. Every time he signs a new deal, every time another celeb is spotted on the sideline of his game, he wins the silent war. Because that's what this has become now. A clash of energy. One chaotic and impulsive. The other cool, controlled, and commanding. It's the difference between noise and narrative. Gabriel's got the noise. Shadur owns the narrative. And let's not ignore the massive elephant in the room here, the business side of things. You don't mess with the face of a brand when the brand is college football itself. Like, let's be clear, this isn't the 1990s anymore. Star players don't just move chains, they move merch, ticket sales, social media engagement, and entire recruiting pipelines. Shadur Sanders is a brand. One of the biggest to ever come through the college system. He's not just a quarterback. He's a revenue engine. A marketing campaign with cleats. When he plays, ESPN boosts its coverage. Nil partners roll out exclusives. Stadiums swell with fans wearing Prime merch. And Gabriel thought that was the guy to take a swipe at? You might as well throw shade at Beyoncé during her album rollout and expect the Bayhive not to find you. It's the same energy. And here's the kicker. Gabriel didn't even need to say anything. He could have played the long game, focused on his craft, built his own story. Maybe met Shadur on the field one day and settled things with his play, not his mouth. But no, he wanted his viral moment. And he got it. Just not the one he planned. Let's talk about damage control now. Because the fallout from this isn't just memes and media dunks. It's real. Recruits are watching. Scouts are taking notes. And most importantly, his own locker room is feeling this. You can't lead a team when you're a headline for all the wrong reasons. If Gabriel wants to salvage his reputation, it's going to take more than just winning games. He's going to need a public reset, a humble statement, a moment of clarity where he acknowledges the misstep without playing victim. But the internet? It's not as forgiving. This story will live online forever. Screenshotted, parroted, quoted. His name is now attached to Shadur's forever, but not in the way he probably hoped. And here's where this goes from bad to worse. You think Shadur's camp didn't notice? You think Deion Sanders, aka Primetime, didn't see the clip? Didn't file that moment away like a chess player who's 10 moves ahead? Come on. If Shadur ends up facing Gabriel on the field at any point in the future, just know every step, every audible, every pass is going to be personal. And unlike Gabriel, Shadur's revenge doesn't come in the form of soundbites. It comes in the form of scoreboards. This moment also raises a big picture issue, the growing gap between how athletes are trained for the field and how unprepared some of them are for the spotlight. Because here's the truth, you are your brand now. Every interview, every post, every comment becomes part of the story you're writing. And Gabriel just wrote himself into the wrong chapter. Meanwhile, Shadur is building a dynasty of silence, focus, and undeniable excellence. When all is said and done, this moment will probably be remembered not for what was said, but for what wasn't. Sanders' refusal to stoop down to Gabriel's level? That wasn't passive. That was powerful. Because sometimes, silence is louder than any insult. So where does this leave us? In a sport defined by rivalries, pride, and performance, we just watched a reputation unravel in 30 seconds, and a legend grow stronger by doing nothing at all. Gabriel will have to fight harder than ever to rewrite his story. The pressure's on. Every game is now a test, not just of talent, but of maturity. And Shadur? He'll keep showing up, doing the work, being the guy everyone wants to watch, endorse, and follow. That's the real win. Gabriel didn't just make a bad decision. He lit a match in a forest that was already dry. You know how people always say play smarter, not harder? Well, Gabriel tried to play louder, not smarter, and it backfired in biblical proportions. Because there's one golden rule in the spotlight era of college football. You don't come for the king unless you're ready to wear the crown. And Shadur Sanders? He's not just wearing it, he custom designed it. Stitched in gold thread with his initials and a camera crew following behind. This guy is a generational quarterback with a generational platform. The face of NIL. the prince of the primetime empire. He didn't need to respond to the dig. He doesn't need to respond. His brand is bigger than the insult. His performances speak louder than any clapback ever could. But Gabriel? Now he's spiraling in an ecosystem that thrives on failure. Especially loud failure. He gave the internet a narrative. He gave reporters a story. He gave his opponents fuel. Every coach prepping to play Gabriel now has one more talking point in the locker room. Every defensive lineman now has extra motivation to sack him into the turf. Every social media intern across college football now has meme content for the next 3 weeks. And guess what? None of this helps him win football games. Because while he's explaining his comments in media scrums and managing, it was taken out of context walkbacks. Shedeurs tossing 60-yard touchdowns and shaking hands with corporate sponsors. While Gabriel's press team is in damage control mode, Shedeurs showing up in commercials during halftime. The contrast is stark. The timing? Even worse. Remember, this isn't happening in the off-season. This is mid-season madness, when focus, unity, and momentum matter most. When a team needs a leader, not a liability. When one wrong move doesn't just hurt your PR, it hurts your locker room, your standings, and your draft stock. And that draft stock? It's the elephant in the room. Because now every NFL scout who was once watching Gabriel for his mechanics is watching him for his maturity. Every exec who wanted to see how he handles pressure just got their answer. And it wasn't great. See, scouts don't just care about throws. They care about intangibles. How does a guy handle criticism? Does he take the high road when poked? Can he lead men under fire? Does he make smart decisions off the field as well as on? And right now, Gabriel is throwing a big OL interception into his own future. Meanwhile, Shedeur is writing the blueprint. He's proving that dominance in the modern game is about more than just talent. It's about tact, grace, awareness, playing the long game, not just with your playbook, but with your persona. He knows exactly how to control the spotlight, when to speak, when to stay quiet, when to dunk, and when to disappear. And that kind of savvy? That's lethal. Let's take a moment to talk about the silence, because that's really the most powerful part of this whole thing. In a time when athletes clap back on Instagram before the whistle even blows, Shedeur took the nuclear option. He did nothing. And in doing nothing, he owned everything. He let the world argue for him. Let the receipts do the talking. Let the memes cook. Let the reporters stir the pot. All while he focused on the only thing that actually matters, winning. Because here's what people forget. The scoreboard remembers everything. The stat sheet doesn't care who was louder. History only writes down the name that finishes first. And Shedeur? He's playing for the history books. Let's pivot for a second and talk about the business of all this. Because, oh yes, there's a lot of money riding on this feud. Sanders is a walking billboard, a headline generator, a built-in media property. You think brands want to attach themselves to chaos? To controversy? To quarterbacks who drag other players on national TV? No. They want winners. Composed, consistent, magnetic winners. And that's exactly who Shedeur is proving to be. This incident? It only boosted his value. Made him more sympathetic, more iconic, more viral. His fan base grew. His endorsements surged. The NIL god smiled down and said, here's another check. Gabriel, on the other hand, he took a branding hit. One of those career-altering kind. The kind you don't bounce back from overnight. Now, every company looking to sign him has to think twice. Do we want to be associated with the guy who went off script and made himself a meme? That question alone is the problem. But let's go deeper. This isn't just a moment, it's a mirror. A mirror held up to every player who thinks the game ends at the final whistle. To every athlete who thinks being real means being reckless. To every coach wondering if their QB understands the assignment. Because the lesson is clear. Self-awareness is part of the game now. It's not just about being the best player on the field. It's about being the smartest presence off of it. It's about playing the media as well as you play your position. Gabriel forgot that. Shedeur mastered it. And the irony of all this? Gabriel could have had his moment. He could have waited for the game, played lights out, beat Shadur on the scoreboard, walked off with swagger and said something humble but pointed. Instead, he jumped the gun, and now he's bleeding out from friendly fire. It's sad in a way, because the talent is clearly there. But as we've seen time and time again, talent without discipline, without media IQ, without foresight, it's wasted. Just another highlight reel buried beneath controversy. So what's next? For Gabriel, it's redemption season or bust. He's going to have to string together flawless performances and flawless interviews just to steady the ship. His team has to rally. His leadership has to be felt. And his ego? It has to shrink. For Shadur, he keeps climbing. Bigger games, bigger checks, bigger legacy. Because when this is all over, people won't remember the exact words Dillon Gabriel said. They'll remember the moment he lost control of a story. And they'll remember how Shadur Sanders, cool, composed, and unshaken, didn't flinch. College football is no longer just about the X's and O's. It's about optics, narratives, and timing. And Dillon Gabriel's timing? Impeccably disastrous. He delivered the equivalent of a fumble on 4th and goal, not with his arm, but with his mouth. And that's what makes this whole thing so wild. Gabriel had a shot at being remembered for his play. A dark horse contender. A steady presence. The kind of guy who quietly built momentum and let his stats do the talking. But now his name trends for all the wrong reasons. His clip? Viral. His quote? Misfire. His composure? Missing. And in contrast, Shadur Sanders didn't just win the exchange. He transcended it. It's poetic, really. While Gabriel stumbled in a 30-second soundbite, Shadur leveled up without saying a word. That's not just PR genius. That's narrative dominance. The kind of dominance that makes scouts, media execs, and brand managers lean in and whisper, he's got it. And don't think for a second that Deion Sanders, primetime himself, wasn't watching all this unfold with a smirk. Because if anyone understands the power of perception, it's Coach Prime. He built an empire on flair, performance, and timing. And now his son is doing the exact same thing, just in the TikTok era. It's legacy in real time. And for Gabriel, it's the kind of error that doesn't fade quickly. Sure, a few big wins can help the narrative shift, but this isn't a scar you shake off overnight. This is the kind of mistake that lingers, that follows, that makes every future interview just a little more awkward. Do you regret what you said? Have you reached out to Sanders? What did you mean by that? He turned his season into a press conference. Meanwhile, Sanders just keeps stacking wins, stats, headlines, and silence. Because of silence? When you've got the upper hand. When the world is already defending you, uplifting you, turning your stillness into strength. That's the loudest move of all. So here's the play, folks. Gabriel fumbled the mic. Shadur let the world speak for him. And just like that, the scoreboard was set, even before the game was played. Now it's your turn. Was this trash talk gone wrong, or just another chapter in college football's endless drama? Hit the comments. Let's hear your take. And hey, subscribe. Because you already know this isn't the last time someone forgets who they're talking to.